Can you tell me his first name?
Arrow, as in bow and arrow.
Oh, Arrow.
Kind of weird, huh, Annette?
No, I thought he said Errol. I was thinking Errol Flynn, but Arrow works too.
See, that's every bit the reason why they tried to get me to change my name in radio, because they were afraid with the Arbitron that they're going to write down Errol or they're going to put in Earl and things like that. They were never going to get an Arrow.
Well, I love it. I think it's a great name.
It's been fun to carry it along with me, and the only reason why radio let me keep it was because here in Charlotte there are so many roads around here, like Carowinds, there's Arrowwood Road, and there's so many different roads. So they said, okay, you can keep it because of these roads.
I see. Well, lucky you. It's fantastic.
Speaking of roads, where you are right now with this movie, We Go On, this movie is still with me because I think it deals with the everyday world and the fears of dying. And you guys take on this subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big time. And we answer it. The writers give you an answer, whether you buy it or not, it's up to you. But I love that they do that. They don't just leave you, leave it up to the audience to decide. No, with a question mark at the end. No, they really answer it. So I'm very proud of them. You
dive right into it when it comes to what if. And that all the way through this movie, it's like, what if?
Yeah. Yes. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of it. And I'm so glad they've given it a new gussying up and some bells and whistles with Blu-ray and all this stuff and start streaming it on the 21st. And it didn't get enough of an audience the first time. So I'm hoping that more people get to see it. Well, that's the reason why we're talking about it, because once you experience this movie, it extends that conversation because it does get you emotionally. Yeah. That's what's so great about it. It's like, it's scary and it has all these questions, but it's also a kind of a family drama and a buddy film with a very strange buddies at the center, which are the mom and son, and a really wonderful cast and everything about it is pretty fine, and I'm very, very happy I'm in it. Yeah, Miles it's almost, he's paralyzed with this fear of dying, but to me, he's the actual image of who we are in this moment. I mean, they make him seem, he doesn't overdress, he doesn't overspeak, he's really just locked in on his thoughts. Yeah, he is paralyzed is a really good word, and it comes from something that we find out about in the movie. It's not like, he's just this guy and we never know why. There's a very specific reason with a trauma that happened in his early life. And that's why he is the way he is. And that's why his mother is compelled to come there to be with him and help him deal with this thing. What happens is in the story, he has some money. He has $30,000 and he wants to put it out there as a prize money for anybody who can give him proof that there is life after death. So that's the main premise of the film. And then, of course, he has to deal with charlatans and all these people and go through all these people who are sending him requests for interviews. So his mother comes from another town where she lives and says, "You're out of your mind. You're wasting your money. Nobody's going to, all these people are fakes. Nobody can tell you." And she's a very pessimistic person about the afterlife. She says, there is no afterlife. You die, and that's it. It's black. So she changes as she goes along through this experience with him because something very traumatic, again, happens to him, but it propels him into this the second part of the film, which is all about him dealing with something that happens. Gosh, it's so hard to talk about this movie without giving it away. Well, anyway, see the movie. You'll decide for yourself. You don't need me to tell you. Yeah, it was just really fun to do it. That's what's so tough about this movie, because there's so many different scenes. Like, I'm just going to say the locker and the scene after. To me, that's all I can say about that. But what happens in that moment? I mean, that's why I love it. This movie is done in stages, and you're able to digest every stage that is offered. Yes, there's nothing that's confusing. It's very, very clear, and it takes you places you don't expect. Yeah. So it's like, wow, and they don't scare you so much that you can't recover and get right back into the story. It's not like you need a moment to, go to the restroom. Correct me if I'm wrong. In one of the scenes is Miles, he's sitting in the back seat of the car, and that caught my attention. Yeah. Okay, why is it? Because that really got my attention. Yeah, it's because that's where he always sat as a child.
Okay.
When his mother and father were driving him and talking either to him over the seat or to each other, and he was listening in. It's just a comfortable place for him, and he's a guy who has to be comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, he has to be as much as he can be.
Oh, well, the opening scene, come on. Him in that car, and the car speeds up. I mean, that in itself, that totally sets up the viewer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
There's so many moments like that. I mean, it's really an interesting, it's a beautifully written and directed movie, I think.
Yeah.
Very, very proud of it.
Wouldn't you say that one of the things about this movie is the fact that with you being the mother and Miles, it's almost like we want to have those same conversations and journeys with our own parents, but we choose to take on our own demons without our parents.
Yeah, that's very astute. Yes, I think so. That and what you said before about it triggering conversations afterwards. It's very rare that a quote horror film will do that for you, but it's like Frankenstein. You know, we keep remaking the Frankenstein movie because it's so fascinating. What happens if? And this is the same thing, because every single person on Earth wonders what really happens when we die.
Yeah.
You know, and as you get older, it certainly is a bigger question and something that maybe people need to talk about it more. Maybe this will, encourage people to think in that direction, because I think it's very important. It's part of life. Death is part of life, and we need to be prepared, and as much as we can be. Hopefully it makes us better people by thinking about those things.
I championed this story from the very beginning only because I really did participate with the Dalai Lama's book, The Art of Dying, where where the Buddhism, and so in watching this movie grow, every character to me was bringing something to it, and I felt like a Perry Mason. I had to investigate them. I had to look into their eyes and see, okay, is this one lying? What's going on in this storyline?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad that you got exactly what the writers and directors wanted you to get. You know, it stimulated your not just your imagination, but your just your thought process. It's that's a wonderful
The scene at the funeral, the way that people, just everything about that scene, sitting in the chairs, and then the visitor, and then all of a sudden, oh my God! I'm not going to say how this scene ends, but oh my God, what a moment!
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, this movie goes in directions you just don't see coming, but they make perfect sense.
Yes. After
you've seen them, you think, oh yeah, I get that. Yeah, I there's so many sequences like that it's because it's very, very well thought out, very real.
And when you go back and watch it a second and third time, you can see how each scene is set up. Mm-hmm. I mean, you totally give it to us.
Yeah. What's interesting to me too is that it didn't have one director; that it had each scene was directed alternately by Andy and then by Jesse, taking turns. So, I really wanted to do this movie. One of the reasons was because of working with two directors. I'd never done it before. And it was fascinating to watch them together, because Jesse's much more of the technical guy. He likes all the, not tricks, but how things are going to, how things look and work. And Andy was more involved in the character development and that part of it. So it was interesting to watch somebody do a scene that wasn't like their first choice, but they had to do the next one. That was the rule that they had set up.
See, that makes me want to go back and rewatch it again to find those technical scenes and see if I can spot which ones were directed by which person. Yeah,
I don't think you could spot it, because it's surprising how well they each did with the other thing. And I don't even think it's a matter of talent. I think it's a matter of I don't know what it is, but they were just able to do it on the day, because they were they lived and breathed the script. They knew exactly what they wanted with each scene. So anyway, yes, that would be fun to do.
Wouldn't that be a cool thing if that became a trend where the directing roles were actually became larger? It becomes collaborations or teamwork, because it's like, instead of being so one-sided, this way a team has to bring it to life.
Yeah, we're so used to one person's. I agree. I think that would help a lot of movies that I've seen, where it's just, especially if a person writes and directs the film, you're so close to it. It's your baby, and it's hard to cut things. It's hard to lose a bit of dialogue over here. It just, you feel like, well, that's important. That's telling the story I want to tell. But I think it's important to have another eye. And I think with two directors, you certainly get that. And I've since worked with two other teams of directors, both female teams, and they all have different ways of doing it. But I think it's very, very beneficial to the project. I agree that it would help a lot of projects to open it up to two ideas.
One of the scenes that's very effective, and I really bought into it in a weird way, was the airport scene out there by the fence where they wouldn't shake hands, and I bought it. Because I wouldn't shake hands either. He's got a cold, man. We're fresh out of the lockdown. Right. I'm not shaking hands with anybody.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of this movie, you go back a second time, and it's helpful to have seen it, to know what's going on, so you can go back and see where they plant those things. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A movie like this that feels so real. What was it like to be on the set? Because in reality, is this your theater life coming to life on that camera?
My theater life meaning
that a live crowd. So therefore, when you're in front of that camera, it's not all about lights, camera, action. You know that you have got to be present, because those on the other side, they may not be there in person, but we're there. We're there as viewers.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think about that. Not primarily because the camera is right there. The camera is the audience, and you get so used to it. It's like when you do a play and there's that fourth wall. You don't break it unless you have monologues out to the audience. So and you do that every once in a while in film. You talk to the camera, but it's very rare. It's just, you have to be completely immersed in who you're playing. I had a wonderful acting teacher named Peggy Fury, and she used to say, "This is back-breaking work." And I think and it's very true at the end of the day, because it's a lot of mental work, and it's certainly physical work depending on what you're doing. And you're getting up at the crack of dawn usually to do it, and you work until it's a long day. Usually you work. If you're doing night work too, you just work until you're done for the day. But it's wonderful. At the end of the day, you feel like, gosh, I gave 100%, and I'm exhausted. But it hopefully it's all being seen. Everything that I invested in the scene is being valued and taken in by the audience.
And it makes you fall in love with those writers, doesn't it? Because without those writers and without those imaginations, oh my God, where would you be on that?
You would be nowhere. You're absolutely right. That's the main thing. If there's no script, if there's nothing there, it's like quicksand. You have nothing to stand on.
Yeah. When you play with a movie like this and the things that happen inside this movie, how does it affect you, not just spiritually, but in real life? Because, I always saw like The Exorcist and movies like that where that movie never left the actors. Are you expecting to meet up with a ghost somewhere along the line?
Gosh, I hope not. We all have those moments when kind of things happen, and I feel my dad passed away in 2016, and I feel him with me a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of times near water. He was a sailor. He was in the Navy in World War II, and so anytime I'm near water, I especially feel him around me. But that's probably just me associating him with water, being a sailor, and wanting him to be with me. So it's certainly this movie makes you think and feel.
Yeah,
that's what's so interesting about it. And coming from this genre, you never expect that in a horror, technically a horror film, to feel that. But I think it's like you talked about I think you spoke about it a little bit and early on, and I think Stephen King's work does that as well. Mm-hmm. That's why he's so beloved. I love reading his books, especially. His movies are great, but the books are so wonderful because you really do. He just throws you into the action immediately, and you feel like these people and what they're about. And I feel similarly about this movie, that it does that as well.
Oh my God, it was Stephen King's Christine, one about the car that got me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! All of a sudden, cars to me had a life.
Yeah, yeah, and Cujo the dog.
Oh my God.
Pennywise the clown, all sorts of things. Yes.
I'm glad you talked about your father still being with you, because my mother's ashes are right here in the studio with me, with about 3 feet from me, because I feel her more today than I think I ever have. And so with you saying that, it's like, okay, she gets it. She totally gets it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really true. Those connections we have, they still are with us, and they still feed us and teach us. Because, as you get older, you just think more about them, and you're just wiser yourself because you've lived enough life to put yourself in the place of your parents sometimes, and you see their side of things, or you see what made them tick, and you see their faults that they maybe didn't do wrong, but you questioned at the time, and things become a bit clearer. And even if they don't, it's okay. You forgive. You learn to forgive certain things.
Well, this is definitely the movie. You know what? I want to see this movie on a big screen outside, outdoor movie theater, because this is the kind of stuff that I saw as a kid, and it would give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. No, that's good. It'd be fun at a drive-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? So, I know we're promoting this movie, but come on, you're an actress. You know that you're always working on something.
Yeah. I'm up here in Vancouver doing the 6th season of Virgin River.
Nice.
And we're having a wonderful time. We're almost done. We have, I think, another couple of weeks, and we're dealing with a lot of weather issues right now. We're supposed to be outside a lot, and we'd love to have some beautiful, clear weather, but it's going to rain tomorrow torrentially. So we have to, the ADs are figuring out what we're going to actually shoot tomorrow. But it's beautiful up here, and the show's so successful, and a lot of cruise ships come in here to Vancouver, where I'm staying, and I get recognized a lot on the street, and they're all saying the same thing. When's it coming back? I said, well, we're working as hard as we can, and it'll be out when it's out. And don't forget us. We're trying to get it out there. But so I'm doing that, and my husband's up here with me right now.
Wow.
We had a forced separation for a while because he was doing a movie in New Orleans, and then had to go to London to finish up a show he does called The Diplomat for Netflix, and then he got to come here. So we're so happy to be reunited, because just the hardest part of our marriage is being separated when we don't want to be.
That's
Some people want to be separated. We're very lucky.
I hope you guys get down to Victoria since you're up there, because Victoria is such a beautiful place.
I know. I'm very ashamed to say that I've never been to Victoria, and I've been up here quite a lot. We shot Smallville up here as well, and I've never been to Victoria.
You got
I tend to, when I'm on my own, I tend to just not. I love to knit and read and walk, and so I'm very close to Stanley Park, and I walk all through Stanley Park. So if you want to see me, that's where I'll be. But Michael has been to Victoria and of course loved it. But I don't know, there's something about getting on a boat and going anywhere. Mm-hmm. I get terribly motion sick, so it's not a good thing for me. But yeah, you're right. I should take advantage of this beautiful place. But we go to a lot of gorgeous locations. We go to Squamish a lot on the show, and all over. Now we're out in Abbotsford and doing stuff. So we get out. I see enough of the gorgeousness of Vancouver.
Wow. Please come back to this show anytime in the future, Annette. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you, Arrow. That's so sweet of you. I enjoyed talking to you so much, and I'm so happy you liked the movie as much as I did. So thanks so much for that.
Bet. You be brilliant today, okay?
I'll try. You too. Okay. Bye.